polling shows that some black men, particularly young black men, are considering voting for Donald Trump, and they see him as better for the economy.
I don't know why anyone sees Trump as better for the economy, though, dude. 6 bankruptcies, tax cuts for the wealthy, stupid-ass tariffs, $8 trillion in debt in his 4 years. The guy ain't good for the economy, bro. He did everything he could trying to destroy Obama's economy.
What is your message to young black male voters who feel left out of this economy, and how can your economic policies materially change their lives?
So I appreciate the spirit of the question, but I'll tell you, I've often been asked this question in a way that I've had to respond by first saying that I think it's very important to not operate from the assumption that black men are in anybody's pocket. Black men are like any other voting group. You gotta earn their vote. So I'm working to earn the vote, not assuming I'm going to have it because I am black, but because the policies and the perspectives I have understands what we must do to recognize the needs of all communities. And I intend to be a president for all people.
What a beautiful answer right there. What a beautiful answer. That answer was really, it was honest and it was heartfelt. Kamala Harris at the NABJ. I thought this was a really good interview. One of the things I appreciated most about it was in talking about her policies and answering the questions, she really showed her thoughtful nature. Being the Association of Black Journalists, this interview was more talking about the problems of the black community, but you could see that she's very thoughtful and measured in having a very keen awareness of what the actual problems are, which I think is really important when trying to find a solution. It's an important quality in a leader. I put together a collection of some of the most important moments, the ones that really provoked sort of thoughtful discussion and debate, and I threw in a Trump clip. He was having a town hall. I think it's really important to see her thoughtful nature side by side with his aimless rambling. It's important to make note of those distinctions. And once again, though, I am consistently impressed with Kamala Harris's priorities of leadership being in the right place. You can just tell she is in this race for the right reasons. She is really here to try and make this world a better place. All right, let's get into it. I see a lot of nonsense talk online with these right-wingers who are like, Kamala can't be asked free questions. She can't respond in real time. Dude, she can totally respond. And she absolutely has plenty to say. And in fact, if we did a side-by-side text comparison of like her answer to a question versus Trump's answer to a question, you would be astonished because she actually, all through that, was delivering thoughtful analysis about like investment in minority communities and getting money into community banks, talking about overcoming redlining by increasing the business investment and investment in communities that have been starved for generations, and the necessity of getting people into home buying, and, you know, her ideas behind gun laws, about getting mental health workers into schools, like real thoughtful solutions, as opposed to just rambling and saying shit like drill, baby, drill, or I'm gonna cut your energy bills by 95%. How are you gonna do that? Oh, don't worry about that. Windmills, shark batteries, army tanks. Right? Like Trump out there brain dead like he took 17 hits of acid. Has no fucking clue what he's doing, bro. So very thoughtful and very poised. And I felt like she handled herself pretty well, even when they put the screws to her, which they did a couple times, about handguns, about Palestine, about are we better off 4 years ago? Dude, I can't believe this election is close. And we need to work our asses off between now and then to make sure this thing's not close. I believe Kamala's gonna win. Part of it is I just believe in America. I believe that we're gonna put aside all this bullshit and we're gonna see this Haiti shit and this Trumpian racism, you know, Hitler speak about immigrants being animals. We're gonna see all that. Remember January 6th and the COVID and the huge tax cuts for the wealthy people and him just being a fucking douche, telling us to get over it as far as school shootings go. We're going to remember all that and be like, you know what? This guy working for these weird evangelical billionaires while women are dying in the fucking parking lot, bleeding out, carrying a miscarriage. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do the smart thing. We're going to do the American thing, and we're going to reject racism. We're going to reject oppression and control, and we're going to reject this idea that the only people in America that get to have a good life are the fucking wealthy. Opportunity economy, yeah, everybody deserves a shot. Everybody deserves a shot of getting into the race without other people starting at the 90-yard line. I believe in us. But again, if you want to get involved, KamalaHarris.com. And why do I say get involved? I'll tell you why. Because it's about energy. If you care about it, if you care about her winning, if you're having anxiety that maybe she won't win, you put your energy into helping her win instead of just getting eaten up by your anxiety. And here's why. Because the Republican right-wing platform, they function on anxiety. They feed off of it. They try to make you anxious. They try to make you fearful. They try to give you the ick so you just don't participate. That's what they feed off of. So if you're feeling anxiety, put that energy into helping Kamala win. Then you're taking your anxiety and you're giving it to her. And you're giving it to the people that are fighting for her. And you're then fighting for her and fighting for you and fighting for the country. That energy is going to good use. If you don't do that and you feel that anxiety, you're probably going to get fed on by the right-wingers, bro. That's what they do. They look for it. They seek it out. They try to create it. Hate and anxiety and fear and animosity, and they just get in there and chomp it all up, dude. They're devious. They are, dude. They're devious. And if you watch them long enough, you'll see it. You'll see it. They jump on it. Ooh, somebody's upset over here. Let's go turn it into a major crisis. And it's always about something that's demonizing somebody. It's never uplifting anyone.
Specifically as it relates to what we need to do, to your point around economic opportunity. Yes, I started way before I was at the top of the ticket at what I called an economic opportunity tour, focused on black men. Understanding that, for example, we have so many entrepreneurs in the community who do not have access to capital, but they've got great ideas, an incredible work ethic, the ambition, the aspiration, the dream, but don't have the relationships necessarily. So my work has included, as vice president, getting billions more dollars into community banks, including working with the big banks to do that, so that we can increase access to capital for our small businesses, for our startups. Part of my plan.
See, that's important because specifically, if you look at people of color in America historically, you know why they haven't been able to succeed is they have no access to capital. And when they do have access to capital, it's at predatory rates that are designed to bleed them and bankrupt them as opposed to help them. And it's huge. And it goes by zip code. Somebody like me, I'm, a 50-year-old white man. I can be the biggest up on the planet, bro. At one point, I had like $12 in the bank, $12. And I went and bought a brand new minivan, charging my down payment on credit cards. And I walked out of there with a minivan with a decent interest rate, with no money. I was broke. I had no money. I had no assets. I had no nothing. But I was a 35-year-old white man. As a 50-year-old white man, I can get money. Man, I can get so much credit and money, it ain't even funny, bro. They will bend over backwards to give me free money. And I do have to pay it back, or I can file bankruptcy and wait 7 years and they'll give me free money again. But if I was a black woman, dude, I would get no access to capital. And it's been a problem. That's part of how they have kept communities of color down, how they have prevented them from succeeding and acquiring generational wealth is by banks and investment firms colluding to prevent investment into people that wanted to start businesses in those communities. It used to be redlining where they just hard zero. But then eventually they started like loaning them small amounts of money when that happened, but at exorbitant interest rates. and with crazy late fees and shit, where they would just, you know, bury people with it. But the idea of getting money into community banks, where those community banks can then get that money to the people in the community, is just a really beautiful and eloquent solution. She's really thinking about shit. She's thoughtful. And not everything she comes up with is gonna work. That's just it. These people aren't magicians. Politicians try shit, and some of it works and some of it doesn't. But she's being very thoughtful about it.
Right now, startup entrepreneurs, small businesses only get a tax deduction of $5,000.
She is going to be incredible.
Nobody can start a small business with $5,000. So I'm expanding that to $50,000.
Dude, you couldn't even start a goddamn YouTube channel with $5,000, bro.
Understanding,
Jesus.
again, that when people have the opportunity to have the resources to get started, they're going to put the good ideas, they're going to put the hard work into it. And part of what I also know is that our young black men, just like any group of people, anybody, our small businesses are really the backbone of our economy overall. And when they do better economically, we all do better. Part of my work is about understanding what we need to do in dealing with, for example, the historic inequities that have faced the black community around home ownership, right? I don't have to go through the history with anybody here about what that has meant in terms of redlining, what that has meant in terms of biases in home appraisals, and what the impact it has had on stemming the opportunity to build intergenerational wealth because of those obstacles. So part of the work that I have done and will continue.
See, this is the thing right here. Listen to her. She is like talking with an in-depth knowledge. She's here with these black people and she's saying, I understand the struggles and challenges you're facing. And so here's how we're going to work on it. Now, I have never once seen Donald Trump ever in the history of him as a politician or even as a human being ever be able to relate to another human being's actual struggles and have a thoughtful idea of how to help them.
People just can't survive now. How are you going to bring down the cost of food and groceries?
Good. Very good. Thank you. So we have to start always with energy, always. I don't want to be boring about it, but there's no bigger subject. It covers everything. If you make donuts, if you make cars, whatever you make, energy is a big deal, and we're going to get that. It's my ambition to get your energy bill within 12 months down 50%. If I can do that, we've done a hell of a job. 5-0, not 15, 50. Interest rates are going to follow, and actually they're going to follow for another reason. The economy is now not good, and interest rates, you'll see they'll do the rate cut and all the political stuff tomorrow, I think. And, you know, will he do a half a point? Will he do a quarter of a point? But the reason is because the economy is not good. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it. But we're going to get interest rates down, and we got to work with our farmers. Our farmers are being decimated right now. They're being absolutely decimated. And, you know, one of the reasons is we allow a lot of farm product into our country, and we're going to have to be a little bit like other countries. We're not going to allow so much we're going to let our farmers go to work. And I don't know if you remember, I love the farmers because, you know, I had many meetings as president. I have this gorgeous room with this beautiful table that seats about 35 people. And I was with the farmers. Usually everybody wants something. They all want subsidy. But I was with the farmers, and I think you might have been there, actually, Sarah. I said, look, fellas, we're going to get you such a beautiful subsidy, meaning I'm going to do things. And one of the people raises and, sir, honestly, we don't want a subsidy. This is the first time this ever happened to me. Everyone they want money. They want to build windmills. We want money with these windmills. Anyway, but you know what? It was amazing. He said, almost tears in his eyes, they were getting decimated. We don't want a subsidy. We just want a...
That's been his whole thing, but she's
continued to do is identify, speak truth about those obstacles,
incredibly
and address them.
Thoughtful.
Another example is medical debt. 1 in 4 black families or individuals is more likely to carry medical debt than others. So part of my
medical debt
and
is
as
bullshit.
Vice President, part of the work that we have done is to say that we're going to eliminate medical debt from being on your credit score.
We should eliminate
Because
it in general.
until now, medical debt worked against your credit score, and people know their credit score like you wait, right? You know that number. And the difference between what that number is and what it needs to be is the difference between you being able to get a car loan, a small business loan, or even a lease on an apartment. And so part of my approach is understanding the obstacles that traditionally and currently exist to allow anyone, including black men, be able to achieve economic wealth. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think it is sufficient to just only talk about economic policy around reducing unemployment. It is an important marker, and I'm proud of the work that we've done thus far. But it should be a baseline there, everybody's working. The point is, do people have an opportunity to build wealth? If that's what they choose to do, if that's what they want to do. And a lot of my perspective as we go forward is just that. I believe that there are a lot of opportunities that are available to the American people if we see people and understand what they want for themselves and their families, and then meet them where they are.
Madam Vice President, I want to move to Springfield, Ohio, and what's happening. We've seen school closures, parents worried about their kids leaving the home because of racist conspiracy theories that I won't repeat here, but they have been repeated by leaders on the Republican side, President Trump, former President Trump, and Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance. From your perspective, is this just a case of irredeemable racism that can't be mitigated by any rational action, or is this a situation in which a federal response could help this community heal? There's a question of resources and...
Well, no, I'll let you finish and then I'll speak.
No, please.
It's a crying shame.
It sucks, dude.
I mean, my heart breaks.
Dude,
for this community.
The Springfield
there
shit
were
is like
children, elementary school children, who it was
one of the more heinous,
it was
openly
school photo
racist
day.
Shit that I've seen
You remember
in a
what
while.
that's like? Going
To me, it just hits different when it's coming from a presidential candidate. You know what I mean? Like when you have people like Charlie Kirk or Haya Reichik or Jack Posobiec / End Wokeness, Cat Turd, when you have these right-wing influencers that you know are degenerates, and you know that they're douchebags, and you know that they're grifting, and they're using the racism to sort of gin up the racist undertones of America, which obviously exist because there was a Confederacy, there still is a South where racism is alive and well. When you see those people do it, it's like bothersome, but it doesn't like hit you in the core because you just know that they're grifters, they're losers, they don't have any real power. But when you see a presidential ticket, a guy that wants the highest job of the land and a senator, and they're the team out there that like, they're running for president, they're representing like huge portions of America, and they are out there lying and making up stories about immigrants and people of color, unfounded shit that they keep insisting, oh, we have constituents who've told us, but they've never verified any of that data. And they're letting it like, it's like they find this burning fire and they pour an Olympic-sized swimming pool of gasoline on that fire with no concern about how it's affecting the people in that community, the people of color in that community, everybody in that community. And in fact, they're only concerned about the white people in that community. And they're very open about that. And they're feeding the fire and having all these right-wing influencers then fan out. And it's turned into this like just despicable, like divisive, like us versus them that's causing real human beings to live in fear for their lives and real communities to face like, you know, a type of negativity and animosity that hasn't been widespread that openly since like people were wearing hoods or the days of slavery. Seeing that shit and seeing these guys at huge levels, the highest level of power being the ones like creating it is truly heartbreaking because they're leaders. So people are going to follow them. They're telling everybody that that behavior is okay. And it's not. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? Like, it hurts my soul to watch that shit, dude. It really does.
On picture day, who were dressed up in their best, got all ready, knew what they were going to wear the night before, and had to be evacuated. Children. A whole community put in fear. And I'll say a couple things about it. One, you know, I learned a long time ago in my career, having a background as a prosecutor, when you have these positions, when you have that kind of microphone in front of you, you really ought to understand at a very deep level how much your words have meaning. I learned at a very young stage in my career that the meaning of my words could impact whether somebody was free or in prison. As Attorney General, I was of California, fifth largest economy in the world. I was acutely aware that my words could move markets. When you are bestowed with a microphone that is that big, there is a profound responsibility that comes with that.
Profound.
That is an extension of what should not be lost in this moment, this concept of the public trust. To then understand what the public trust means. It means that you have been invested with trust to be responsible in the way you use your words, much less how you conduct yourself. And especially when you have been and then seek to be again President of the United States of America. And so I go back to, it's a crying shame, literally, what's happening to those families, those children in that community, not to mention what is happening in terms of, look, you say you care about law enforcement resources being put into this because of these serious threats that are being issued against a community that is living a productive, good life before this happened. And spewing lies that are grounded in tropes that are age-old. And look, I said it not very far from here the other day at the debate. This is not new. This is not new in terms of these tropes. This is not new in terms of where it's coming from. And, you know, whether it is refusing to rent to people, rent to black families, whether it is taking out a full-page ad in the New York Times against 5 innocent black and Latino teenagers, the Central Park 5, calling for their execution, whether it is referring to the first black president of the United States with a lie.
Yeah, dude, the birther shit.
Lies.
Dude, that shit was bullshit.
And look,
he went after Kamala too.
the American
she turned
people
black.
deserve, and I do believe want better than this. I do believe that. I know the vast majority of us as Americans know we have so much more in common than what separates us. I know that. I know that regardless of someone's background, their race, their gender, their geographic location, I know that people are deeply troubled by what is happening to that community in Springfield, Ohio. And it's got to stop. And we've got to say that you cannot be entrusted with standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America, engaging in that hateful rhetoric that, as usual, is designed to divide us as a country, is designed to have people pointing fingers at each other.
It's designed to give us the ick. Right.
And I think most people in our country, regardless of their race, are starting to see through this nonsense and to say, you know what, let's turn the page on this. This is exhausting, and it's harmful, and it's hateful, and grounded in some age-old stuff that we should not have the tolerance for. So let's turn the page and chart a new way forward and say, you can't have that microphone again.
Madam Vice President, Joyful Warrior has been used to describe
You
your
didn't
campaign.
see that just a minute ago, though. Okay, I'm back to my joyful part.
And your opponent and Republicans have at times weaponized.
She's so charming, dude. She really is. I love her. She's so charming.
As, for example,
Powerful, though, too.
Is joy important to you to insert into this election? And what do you make of Republicans using that as a way to suggest that you're not a serious candidate?
Well, sometimes I think, and I'll say to whoever the young people are who are watching this, there are some times when your adversaries will try and turn your strength into a weakness. Don't you let them.
God damn, that's a good answer.
Don't you let them. I find joy in the American people. I find joy and optimism in what I see to be our future and our ability to invest in it. I find joy in the ambition of the people. I find joy in the dreams of the people. I find joy in building community. I find joy in building coalitions. I find joy in believing that the true measure of the strength of a leader is not based on who you beat down, but who you lift up. And I think we should all find joy and have a sense of optimism about who we are as Americans and what we mean to each other and what we can do to lift each other up.